Hello everybody, this is Mr. Rob and welcome back to episode number 50 of the Toronto Thunderbirds franchise here on Madden NFL 22. And today we're about 2/3 of the way through the NFL season, so it's about time for one last recap before we get into the home stretch, the big playoff push. So if you're excited for this one, make sure you drop a like and subscribe down below, especially if you want more franchise content. We're pushing towards 600 now. All you gotta do is follow the instructions that were on your screen. So our Thunderbirds, they currently sit 8-4. We actually just got through the bye week, so I went and simmed ahead to week 14. And we said 8-4, which as you can tell in the bottom right corner is first in our division. We're actually a game up on the Cowboys, followed by the Eagles and Giants. So I will start off by looking at the standings. Let's see how the NFL is unfolding. The best team in the NFL currently is the Bengals. They sit 10-3. That's about a game and a half, maybe 2 games above the Cardinals, which is the second best team. On the flip side, the Dolphins are the worst team, so despite the Deshaun Watson trade before the season, it has not helped them in the slightest. So fortunately, Brian Flores and company, they're under a lot of heat down there in Miami. Go division by division now, starting in the AFC. The North, the Bengals lead 10-3, followed by the Browns, who are 8-4. And the Steelers are 7-5, and so is the Ravens, so it's a very stacked division. In the South, the Jaguars have turned it around. They're 9-3 under first-year head coach Byron Leftwich. He is a candidate for Coach of the Year. Followed by the Titans, who are 6-6. In the AFC East, it's the Bills and the Patriots who lead this division, both 5-7. This is the bottom-tier division of the league this year. The Jets are 4-8 still in it, and so are the 3-10 Dolphins. So despite being the worst team in the league, they still have a shot at the division. In the AFC West, the Broncos have turned it around. They're 9-3, led by #1 overall pick Spencer Rattler and Brian Callahan out there. They've done a great job in their first year in Denver. The Chiefs are 8-4, followed by the Chargers, who are 5-7, and the Raiders, who are 4-8. To the NFC side of things, the Bears lead the NFC North 8-4, followed by the Packers, who are 7-5, and then you got the Lions, who are 6-6, and the Vikings, who are 5-7. In the South, it is the Panthers who lead, another pretty mediocre division, as they lead 6-6. They actually did go through a quarterback change, by the way. Sam Howell is actually starting out in Carolina, so the Cam Newton rerun has kind of been put on the backside. Buccaneers sit at 5-7, followed by the Saints, who are also 5-7. They've won 3 straight, so they're getting hot at the right time. And the Falcons, who are 4-8. In the East, we lead, like I said, 8-4, followed by the Cowboys, who are 7-5. The Eagles have lost 3 straight. They're now 6-7, and the Giants are also 5-7. And then out lastly in the West, the Cardinals lead that division. They're 8-4, followed by the 6-7 Rams, the 5-7 losers of 5 straight 49ers, and the defending NFC champion Seahawks. They are 4-8. So both teams, or a lot of the divisions, are still a work in progress. Nobody's really pulled out ahead anywhere, so it's going to be an exciting last little bit of the season. We'll take some time to look at the stats now, as we haven't really looked at the stats for quite a while. First off, we are 13th in offense, so taking a step back in that regard. Defense, though, we are second. We're actually turned into a dominant defensive team this year, which has been awesome to see. We are first in points scored, though, with 409, and on defense, we are 10th in 281. So it's been a good turnaround year for the Thunderbirds. In terms of our stats, Fitzpatrick leads the way, 2,500 yards in the passing game, 18 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 64% completion. It has definitely been a down year for Fitzpatrick, considering where he played last year. But we haven't relied on the pass game so much. It's just been all running game. And speaking of the running game, Gibson, 1,957 yards and 17 touchdowns. The reigning NFL Offensive Player of the Year is just doing even better this season. He's going to get it again, I would most certainly think, unless he gets hurt. And he's making a case for being an MVP. So Gibson, he has been literally carrying this team on his back on offense. And he is, I don't know what we'd be doing without Gibson. Fitzpatrick is second with 228 yards rushing and 1 rushing touchdown. The rookie Kyren Williams has had 9 carries for 42. Humphries has had 4 for 21. McKissick 8 for 17. McLaurin 3 for 3. And then Josh Adams had 1 carry for 3 yards. In the receiving game, it is Terry McLaurin who leads the way. 48 catches, 777 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Remember, McLaurin is also a free agent after this season, and we've yet to come to a long-term contract extension. We could always tag McLaurin, but I'd like to keep him around long-term. Just hopefully we can get a contract done. De'Ami Brown is second with 44 catches, 546 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then Gibson, who is second in receptions with 46, has 345 in the air and 4 scores. Logan Thomas, who had 1,000+ yards last season, he's only got 28 catches for 288 yards and 1 touchdown. So the Pro Bowler is definitely not being as productive this year. Then you have Curtis Samuel, who's only played in 7 games, but he was 26 for 282 in that span, has yet to find the end zone. Then Adam Humphries, 16 catches, 178 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then you got 9 for 72 for John Bates, 5 for 55 for the rookie Zay Flowers, 1 for 18 for McKissick, and then 1 for 1 for Sammis Reyes, and that was a touchdown reception. Blocking wise on the offensive line, Donovan Smith has had a rough year. He's given up 9 sacks so far this season. Schwartz has given up 8, which is also a little surprising considering he was our big marquee signing last offseason. Emil Ekiyor Jr., who stepped in place of Scherf while he's been down, has given up 7 sacks. This hasn't been the best rookie campaign for him. And then Chase Rowley, the center, is at 6. And then last was left guard Eric Flowers. So offensive line, though, I think has done a very good job, at least in the run game. Passing game could probably step up a little bit, but it hasn't really affected us too much. On defense, Jamin Davis leads the way with 73 tackles. It's great to have him back as he missed almost all of his rookie season. Cameron Curl is second with 71. In terms of sacks, Jonathan Allen leads the way with 17. This is a very sack-heavy team. We get to the quarterback, and we get to the quarterback often. Montez Sweat is second with 14, followed by Ioannidis with 10.5. Chase Young has 9.5. Deron Payne with 4, and then 2 for Ndamukong Suh. Turnovers, I feel like we've gotten quite a few more turnovers this year. Kendall Fuller has 5 interceptions, followed by William Jackson, who has 2, and then Curl, Trey Herndon, and Derek Forrest all have an interception apiece. And then forced fumbles, 3 forced for Allen, 3 forced for Payne, 2 for Ioannidis, 1 for Sweat, and 1 for Landon Collins. Now let's see how we'll look at kicking real quick. Rodrigo Blankenship hasn't had the best season. He's missed 2 field goals and he's missed 4 extra points. So an odd season for our newest kicker. Kick return, we do have 3 kick return touchdowns by Antonio Gibson, and then nothing in the punt game. We'll take a look at the NFL around the league, see who leads each category. Starting off with passing, Tom Brady leads the league at 3,800 yards, still kicking it. And he's hoping to get the Buccaneers to the playoffs, followed by Trevor Lawrence, who's having a sensational sophomore campaign. And then Matthew Stafford, the Rams, 3rd in passing despite not having the best record. And then Joe Burrow is 4th. And then 5th is the newest Texan, Tua Tagovailoa. In terms of touchdowns, it is led by Trevor Lawrence, 29 touchdowns, followed by 28 of Tom Brady. And then Joe Burrow and Malik Willis, the rookie in New Orleans, has 27. And then 5th is Matthew Stafford with 26, as well as Patrick Mahomes and Baker Mayfield. In terms of interceptions, Tom Brady does lead the way there as well, though. 14 interceptions, followed by Rodgers with 13. Russell Wilson has 12. And then Malik Willis, Mac Jones, Matt Ryan, Justin Fields, Ryan Fitzpatrick all have 11 interceptions. On the rushing side of things, it is Antonio Gibson. It's not even close. He has a 640-yard advantage over Derrick Henry, which is also a very impressive stat line. But, you know, when Antonio Gibson's putting up those numbers, he's just going to blow away the rest of the field. Touchdown-wise, he also leads away with his 17 touchdowns. Ezekiel Elliott and Kamara are 2nd and 3rd with 14. Fumble-wise, Fitzpatrick does have the most fumbles. Most for running back, though, is DeAndre Swift and Nyheim Hines. On the receiving side of things, the receiving yard leader is newest Jaguar Robbie Anderson. He was picked up in a trade in the preseason that sent Andrew Norwell back to Carolina, and him and Trevor Lawrence have just set up a connection from the get-go. 91 catches, 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns. A great season for Robbie Anderson. The other 1,000-yard receiver is Mike Evans, who has 1,083. In terms of receptions, Anderson leads the way, followed by Mike Evans, DJ Chark, and Andy Isabella. In terms of tight ends, looks like Hawkinson is the biggest target for tight ends, 71 catches, 716 yards. Receiving touchdowns, Allen Robinson leads the way with 11, and then he got 9 for Rondale Moore. And then Calvin Ridley, who will be suspended for the rest of the season. I will decrease Calvin Ridley's rating, so that will be a big hit to the Falcons. And then Robert Woods also has 9. Blocking wise, the worst blocker looks like this season has been Christian Darrisaw and DJ Humphries, but not going to get too much into those stats. Tackle leaders on defense, we're going to do it by AFC, NFC, because you know Madden likes to not fix its bugs. In the AFC, Matt Milano has 110 tackles. That's a lot of tackles. Followed by Alex Anzalone with 100 as well. Sack-wise out there, Von Miller leads the way with his 12.5. And then you have Jeffrey Simmons with 11, Jadeveon Clowney with 11, and Myles Garrett with 10. Those are your double digits. Leader in interceptions is L'Jarius Sneed and Xavier Howard. They have 4 apiece. In the NFC side of things, the leading tackler is Anthony Barr, followed by Pete Werner and Bobby Wagner, all with 100+. Sack-wise, Jonathan Allen leads the way in the NFC with his 17, followed by Sweat with his 14. And then Chandler Jones has 11, Matthew Innes with 10.5, Derek Barnett also has 10.5, and then 10 for Brian Burns and J.J. Watt. Interception leader is Kendall Fuller, so he does lead all the NFL with 5 interceptions. Jair Alexander and Bradley Roby have 4 apiece. Kicking-wise, looks like the most accurate kicker has been Cody Parkey. Him, Robbie Gould, and Matt Gay have not missed kicks this year. And then on the return game, outside of Gibson, we did know Anaya Smith did have a kick return touchdown. And then punting, there have been 2 punt return touchdowns, Tony Pollard and Randall Cobb. So that'll do it for the stats side of things. One of the last things I do want to show you before I show you the playoff picture is we're actually going to take a look at the scores from last week, maybe highlight some of the big games, as I did simulate the bye week before this episode went air. I will scroll through them very quickly. The Chiefs beat the Patriots, the Packers walloped the Dolphins, the Jaguars did beat the Giants on the road, the Ravens beat the Jets, the Titans beat the Colts, who we'll see next, Cowboys beat the Eagles, the Steelers dominate the Falcons, the Bears beat the Bills, the Broncos beat the Raiders, the Lions beat the Vikings, the Rams do go and beat the 49ers. Sunday Night Football, the Cardinals did beat the Buccaneers. We'll take a look at this game real quick, as it looks like this one. Both quarterbacks played well. Rushing-wise, nobody really stood out rushing-wise. Receiving, just a pretty even matchup across the board. And then on defense, it looks like the Cardinals' defense is what really helped them to victory. That is 7 sacks on Tom Brady. And Levante David and Jalen Thompson walked away with INTs. And then on the Monday night game, the Bengals did beat the Browns 31-28. And then the Saints beat the Panthers on Thursday Night Football 27-21. I will take a look at this game. Also, it went into overtime. But as you can see, Malik Willis 4 touchdown passes, but it is Sam Howell now starting in Carolina. This is, I think, his 3rd game behind the center. 215 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And then Christian McCaffrey did have a big game on the ground. And then receiving-wise, Marquez Callaway, 9 for 128 and 2 scores. Defensively, standout Davenport had 2 sacks and then a couple interceptions. But those are the stats for Week 13. Your players of the week during that span, so I go over to that, will be in the AFC side of things. It'll be Jameis Winston, who had 4 passing touchdowns in the Steelers win. Owusu Kamara had an interception and 12 tackles for the Browns. On the NFC side of things, Stafford with his 369 passing and 4 passing touchdowns, and then Sutton with an interception for Green Bay. So, a couple more things. I will go to the scouting now. I do want to show you the scouting. Now, I have been doing a lot of scouting, but I haven't been doing too much, and I am still on the old scouting thing. Usually what I do first is I go through the quarterbacks, which you saw in the last recap episode, and then I just go through all of the first-round talents. I like to see what's at the top of the board. You can see our picks on the side. We do have 2 first-rounders. We have the Vikings first-rounder, and they're not doing so good, so we actually have a pretty high pick. And then once I go through the first-rounders, I go through all the scheme fits later on just to see if I can find some hidden players. And this is where I stand so far. A lot of first-round talents. Haven't gotten to the defensive side of the football yet, but I am done on offense. And my new player at the top of my board is Jordan Addison, wide receiver out of Pittsburgh. And I know we don't really need that much more wide receiver talent, but if Terry McLaurin does end up walking for whatever reason, Jordan Addison would be my top target. 21 years old. He has great spec catch, good catching across the board. And he's a deep threat, which kind of fits what we've kind of been doing. I did show you George Pickens last episode. Bijan Robinson, another halfback I do like. I don't think we'll draft another one of these, but another player I would sit at the top of my board and might have one of the best overalls of the draft class. Showed you Willie Anderson and Kelly Ringo. Tank Bigsby, another good player who has A+ trucking if we do want to go the way of the power back in our 2nd first-round pick. And then Peter Skoronski, left guard. This is the first lineman. And I do think left guard, despite Eric Flowers' pretty solid play, is our weak spot. So I could see us using Peter Skoronski as our top pick. Jordan Whittingham, another wide receiver. Payne Durham is a tight end who, if he falls, I might go with. Same with Miles Hinton. I'm not scared of red diamond players, by the way. I do like seeing just ratings that are A's. I also like Osiris Torrance, another late round guard I could see us taking, kind of like we did with Emil Ekiyor Jr. last year out of Lafayette. He has good lead blocking and very good run blocking. Pass blocking, not really sure though. Jalen Cooper is a late round receiver we could target. He is more of a route runner, which is what we were missing. We have a lot of deep threats on the roster, and he can run those short and middle routes for us. And then I like Jelani Williams, who could be a late round tight end out of Virginia. He has good catching ability. And then I have Stephen Jones to round out the scouting. But I'll do the defense as we get later in the season. Last thing I do want to show you is the playoff picture. The bracket is finally here, and this is what the playoff bracket looks like currently. We're sitting at 8-4, and we're third in the NFC. That shows you how talented the top of the NFC is. I think there's a lot of teams that sit middle of the pack, specifically in the AFC side of things. The NFC side is pretty top heavy. On the AFC, you have the Bengals with the 1 seed, the Jaguars will be the 2, followed by the Broncos and the Bills. And then your wild cards are the Browns, Chiefs, and Steelers. On the NFC side of things, the Cardinals are the 1 seed, followed by the Bears, Thunderbirds, and Panthers. And the wild cards are the Packers, the Cowboys, and the Lions. So that's what the playoff picture looks like going into the final stretch. And that'll do it for this one. Next up, we will face the Colts. I'll show you the roster really quick. Despite being 5-7, I can see this Colts squad being a team that could give us fits on the road. They do have Carson Wentz still at quarterback, so he's somebody that doesn't scare me totally. But they do have Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor, good running backs. They did trade for Tyler Boyd in the preseason, so he has them as well, followed by Christian Kirk and Zach Pascal. And then tight end Robert Tonyan. Offensive line, not as strong. They do have Quentin Nelson, who's the best left guard in the league. Ryan Kelly's a good center. And then they do have good Braden Smith. So they have some solid pieces out there. On the defensive side of things, Kwity Paye, the reigning NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, is on that line. And then they also have DeForest Buckner, Grover Stewart, Darius Leonard, who's a great linebacker, Bobby Okereke up the middle. This is a solid Colts team who doesn't have a lot of weakness. They also picked up Kyle Fuller and then made some secondary changes. So don't be sleeping on this Colts roster. That'll do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe down below, especially if you want more franchise content. This is Mr. Rob, and I'll see you in the next one.